I think that's in.
Hi, Helen. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Good.
I'm actually quite early. I'm going to go up and make myself some tea. I just thought I'd dial in to see if was connected. Anyway, this is me.
Perfect. Welcome. Well, I'll see you in a few moments.
Yeah. I'm just going to go make myself some tea.
All righty. Hi there. Welcome.
So at the moment, I see you, Andrew, and uh, a piece of paper, or during classes, keep your microphone, etc. It's instructions. I assume that you've set it up for that way, right?
Yeah, so it's fine to kind of chat, I think, before class begins. But obviously, once class gets going, if we have
Oh,
14 people with their microphones on, dogs start barking, people start coming through the house.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's fine. I'm just checking that I'm seeing what I'm supposed to see, which is just you in the corner and then the instructions for at
that's
this
right.
moment.
Yeah, but you are seeing this is all kind of new to me, dealing with presentations and groups. So you are seeing the Flying Tree Spanish language course there on the
Yeah.
on your screen.
Yes, I see Flying Tree, Spanish language course, etc. recommendations.
Perfect.
And I can scroll if I want to, but I'm just sitting here for the moment and I see you in the corner.
Great.
But I don't see any people at this point, and I assume they are somewhere.
So you can,
And
where you see my profile, that it's like a little black box, right? And there should be a few buttons at the top of that box. There's one button which is like a thin line, one that's kind of a rectangle, and one that's two rectangles. Is that right?
yes,
And so if you click on the one that has two rectangles, you'll be able to see the other people who are connecting to the chat.
I see table, chart, text, shape, media, comment, view, zoom, format, document, collaborate. Just looking here.
So
there's usually something that's called gallery view, which allows me to.
That's the one, gallery view.
Yeah, except I can't see it at the moment, but I'm looking.
All right. Hi, Selena, how are you doing? So.
Yeah, I'm just fiddling around here to see if I can find it. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that.
That's okay. We can learn all of the exciting features of Zoom in the meantime.
Okay, Zoom, maybe view. Yeah, I can't see this thing to see the other people. I can, oh, there we go. Hello.
No?
Hello.
All right, awesome. Good. Hi, Brittany.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, just give people a few more minutes to log in, and yeah, we'll get going.
Sorry if you're getting a in-depth look at my nostrils or whatever. I'm just trying to see what the features are here. Okay. And I should say for all of us, this is my corona hair. It's not what I wanted. This is the not being able to get a haircut for weeks on end hair.
Yeah,
I think we're all
in that boat. My wife keeps on trying to convince me that it's a great idea to let her cut my hair, having never cut curly hair before, and I think no, basically.
Yes,
I
have curly hair. So.
I teach English to Chinese kids, so they've been on lockdown since January, and slowly watching them all get haircuts from their moms over time has been really entertaining. I'm like, oh, you got a haircut? And they're like, yeah, my mom did it. I was like, it looks great. Like, no, it doesn't. I was like, well, at least no one can see you.
Slowly grow out over time, but that's all good. I've just had a shower, so it's all kind of with curly hair, it always gets really small after you've had a shower. And then as sort of throughout the day, it just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes, yes, that's what's going on. Normally there's sort of half the volume here, but that's just the corona hair.
Good. Okay.
Just fiddling here. I think I put this up on a box. be better.
Perfect. Hi, Sam. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Where are you calling from today?
I live in Spain.
In which part? In Valencia or?
Andalusia in Granada.
Oh, such a nice place.
Yes, it's beautiful.
I used
Nice
to live
forever
in
home.
Madrid for a few years, so I visited Granada a fair few times.
Ah, yeah, I lived in Madrid for a while as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
Oh, this is very cool. On my screen, everybody is sort of in a row on the bottom,
Okay.
and I kind of have to move through to see it, which is fine. And I will turn my microphone off when we get started.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine with the microphones on to begin with, just so everybody can have a chat and, you know, in the beginning of the day and ask it. It's a good time as well to ask any questions. So if you do have any questions at this point, go ahead. And yeah.
I was going to ask about the Asana classes. Do you recommend out of the minimum 5 classes that we take a class with like the variety of teachers with the variety of styles?
That would be a good idea. I think that you'll find that obviously the language that you would use in English, right, is quite different for a beginner's class to how it would be for a fast-paced kind of power flow. And of course, our teachers here in Flying Tree, they all come from different places. So Jamie's from Peru, Kelly's from Venezuela, Andrea is Colombian. And so it can be a really great idea to
hear the different accents and
exactly, and that they all have kind of different ways of expressing themselves as well. So I will talk a little bit about those classes in a moment once everybody's logged on, and yeah, we can clear up anything at that point. So let's see, we've got Helen, we've got Sam, Stanley, Veronica, Jackie, Brenda, Brittany. Perfect. Selena. Is that Sarah May? It is Sarah May. Thank you. Yeah. Just want to check that I'm pronouncing your name properly. And Tori. Perfect. Good. Just 3 more people left. Yeah. So part of the as part of the course, taking these, you know, native classes in Spanish, the expectation is not that you're going to understand everything straight away. You know, there's a lot of language out there. The teachers can speak pretty fast. They're speaking for native speakers. They're not speaking for learners. So my expectation is not that you should be able to, you know, just understand kind of everything straight away. But I think that by the end of next week, you'll find yourselves really, understanding a lot more than you did in the beginning. There'll be a lot of vocabulary that will kind of become very, very familiar during the time. All right, we've got a Laszlo connected now.
Hi, I'm Casey.
Casey. Welcome, Casey. How are you doing?
Good. How many people are in the course?
We've got 13 people on this language program. So yeah, it'll be a nice group. And that means that when the days come to work with our native speaking teachers, we'll have 3 native teachers who'll come and join us, and we'll split into much smaller groups. So we'll split into groups of around 4 people to work much more sort of individually with teachers. Okay, just a couple more people to get connected and we'll get going. So does anybody else have any other questions that they'd like to ask before we get going today?
I just wanted to my daughter's doing her school in another room, and at some point I might put it on mute and leave for a few minutes. So hopefully it's just because I have to help her keep going with her studies. So
Sure, no problems. What I will say is that during class, we're all going to keep our microphones on mute so that way it doesn't matter if people are sort of, making background noise and whatnot. And then when people want to share, they just unmute their microphone.
Okay. I'm just checking to unmute. I'm just going to mute my microphone now.
Yeah, sure.
Is it in the corner somewhere?
So yeah, it should be on your taskbar. You should have options there to mute and unmute your microphone.
Oh, there it is. I see it. Okay, so I'm muting now.
All right.
It keeps jumping away. I apologize for this close-up look at my face. I'm on an iPad. I'm just trying to find the way to do this. I'll step back in a minute.
Andrew, I had a quick question about this session, if it's being recorded or not.
It is being recorded, yes. So
We'll
once
be able
the
to review it
session
after.
is finished, that downloads itself to my computer, and then I can upload it to YouTube.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, no worries. Welcome, Megan. All right.
I have a quick question. Should we be set up to be able to do yoga today?
So we're going to do, we're going to do a short asana practice at the end of class today. It's going to be Spanglish, so just so that we can start, working little bits of vocabulary into our practice. But yeah, if you have like a space that you can move around in sort of reasonably close to your camera, that would be great. All right, so welcome everyone. We'll get going, and I'm sure the final person who's going to connect, they'll connect in due course. So, great. So, as I've recommended, when we take this course, if just the person who's speaking unmutes the microphone, and then everybody else can keep their microphone muted, and that way we avoid like too much background kind of noise. We've been running a number of trainings in Flying Tree, and we had one where a teacher had like 50 people connected to Zoom, and so yeah, it sort of became pretty apparent that was the best way to do things. If you have questions and so on, you are welcome to share them in the message area. So you'll see up on your taskbar, you can see that there's like a group chat. So please feel free to write anything in the group chat there. You can also write to people privately on the chat as well. And yeah, and then when it comes to whenever you want to share, hey Stanley, you're from Seattle, that's awesome. Thanks. And then so when it comes to speaking out, you can just unmute your microphone. So welcome to the Spanish language course for yoga teachers. I really love doing this course. It's something that sort of unites my nerdy passions, both for yoga and language. And so I've really loved working over the years with people on this course. We've been doing it since early 2016. So we've come through quite a lot of iterations of the course now. And we think we've got a really good structure going on. Having said that, this is the very first time that we're going to be doing it online. So we'll just have to kind of see how that goes with the technology. I've had a pretty good experience with Zoom so far, but we're just going to have to kind of wait and see how things work there. So to get going, I thought it would be really nice to invite people to introduce themselves, just to say two things. So to describe a little bit about your current yoga pursuits, like what are you doing with your yoga right now? Are you teaching? Are you practicing? Are you studying? And then to tell us as well what brought you to take this course. What inspired you to take this course? What are your reasons? So who would like to start?
Well, I'll go first, I guess.
All right.
So my name is Veronica. I'm from Canada, and I am in Colombia now with no way to go back home. So presently, I'm doing a daily practice of meditation in the morning, and I have the awesome opportunity to teach my neighbors. I have two women living close to me who saw me doing yoga and wanted to get into it. And so I've started practicing with them, and neither of them speak English. So I'm actually getting the chance to Spanglish my way through it. And so this is why I'm doing this course, to deepen my knowledge of Spanish and to continue teaching as well. Since I just recently got my certification, I wanted to kind of keep it going. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Veronica. That's great. Who would
I
like
can
to
go next. I can go next. Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm from the United States, but I currently live in Barcelona, Spain. I have a daily personal practice, and I generally teach at least one class a week. It's like my passion to teach yoga. Like whenever I do it, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so happy now. Like even when I'm maybe not in the mood to do it right when it's about to happen because I'm tired from my day job. So yeah, whenever I get the chance, it makes me really happy. And I'm kind of grateful for COVID in a horrid way because it's allowed me the opportunity to do virtual classes with people that I love from across the world. So I teach my best friend and her family on the weekends, and I just reconnected with a friend from college this week who lives in Ireland. So yeah, it's been a really nice way to just sort of like, hey, what's up? Let's do some yoga together. And I lived in Mexico for 1.5 years and taught English yoga while I was there. And because the place I lived was very English speaking and touristy. But then same sort of thing, like I had people come up to me and be like, hey, can I take your class? And they didn't speak English. So then it was just sort of like, okay, like I know some words in Spanish that will help me with this. And it was just a lot of like, okay, and now this, and now this, because I didn't know the verbs or like couldn't think in the moment of like the body parts. And so I've been wanting to take this class for a while, and like was supposed to come to Colombia last fall, and then that didn't work out, and then we were supposed to come this summer, and that's probably not working out anymore either. So yeah, I'm really grateful that we can do it online this time. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany.
I'll go next. My name is Tori, and I live in San Diego, California. I've been teaching for 5 years now, and I teach full-time here. I'm a lead at one of my studios here. So I teach a lot, I teach a ton, and I love it so much. And with taking on this course, being in San Diego, it's a very unique place. With being like 45 minutes from the border, you can see the mountains very easily. And so I considered native Spanish speakers to be a very underserved population in just the whole scope of wellness, the whole scope of yoga. So I feel like this is just a great tool to have in my toolkit to reach the language that's spoken most in the world behind Mandarin. Think it can open up to a lot of opportunities and just a whole other population of the world that also can benefit from the teachings of yoga. So I'm very excited to be here.
Thanks, Tori.
I can go next. My name is Jackie. I'm from Colorado, and I'm in Colorado right now. I lived in Valencia, Spain for 1 year. I've also lived in Santiago, Chile, but it was a long, long time ago. And Andrew, I'm kind of like you. I love Spanish. I love yoga. They're my two nerdy passions. I do something else professionally. I also work for a nonprofit, but these are the two things that I love. And so I've been teaching for only about 1 year. I actually recently got back from Valencia, Spain, just a couple days before the travel ban. So, dodged a bullet there. I almost got stuck there, but I'm glad to be home. So I know we have a large Spanish-speaking community here in Colorado, and there's nobody who offers yoga in Spanish. So My studio is closed right now. I'm not doing a lot of teaching, but I'm doing a lot of learning. So wherever I can, taking a lot of online classes. I have my own personal practice, of course, and then reaching out and doing whatever I can during this time, just to learn as much as possible. So when life opens back up, I'll be ready. So I'm super excited to be here. I wanted to come down to Columbia. Maybe someday that can still happen, but right now I'm here. So thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. Well, yeah, hopefully, and any of you who'd like to come to Flying Tree at some point in the future, once things work out again, you're all extremely welcome to come and join us for a stay, whatever that means. Yeah, we'll talk about that in due course, I think. All right, thanks so much, Jackie.
Although, if no one's chiming in,
Sure.
my name is Sarah May, and I'm living in Austin, Texas right now, but I also live part-time in Mexico in Southern Baja. So I teach yoga pretty much full-time in English here. That's what I do. And I teach a group when I am in Mexico, and I've been mostly teaching them in English. I did my first ever yoga in Spanish class last time I was there. But I'm just a very beginner Spanish speaker in general. So I kind of probably took me 3 hours of prep to teach one class in Spanish, but that's fine. And I'm not sure if anything I'm saying is the right stuff to be saying. But it was fun. It went pretty well. And I did my 500-hour teacher training in Valencia. So I've taken a lot of classes in Spanish, but I'm just really looking forward to learning more about how to be more useful in the Spanish language.
Great. Thanks so much, Sarah May.
Okay, I'll go next. I'm Helen. I am in I'm in Northern Ontario, near Parry Sound, which is in Canada. I am probably an oldie in the sense that I actually started studying yoga 40 years ago on a visit to Britain. Mr. Iyengar was just starting to teach yoga in the West, and his students had come back. His students were starting to come back from Pune and teaching yoga in Britain. I was I had polio, so when I was a child, and I was in my 20s, and I was limping. And after 2 months of going to these Iyengar classes, I wasn't limping. So that obviously affected my views on studying yoga. And I've been doing it. I no longer do Iyengar yoga, but I did for years. And then we moved on to another style that was more compatible with Iyengar. There are some issues, but anyway, no need to get into that. So I teach up until the pandemic. I was teaching in community centers and recreation centers in Toronto, which is the nearest large city to here. And I also had my own class in the nearest city, which is Parry Sound, and also in my home, which is on Lake Manitowoc in McKellar, Ontario. So that's many more than 25 words or less, but that's it for me.
Thanks so much, Helen.
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm in Santa Barbara, California, and I have, of course, much more time on my hands now because I've been laid off my job working for a college, and my daughter is home, I'm kind of homeschooling her for the rest of the year. And I usually teach one class a week, and I sub. I have a 200-hour from White Lotus here in Santa Barbara. I think eventually I'd like to get more into teaching yoga. The job, I have to wait till the pandemic's over, maybe fall, things kind of go back to normal. I was in Medellin a couple of years ago, and I was there for the Fashion Week with my friends from Miami. It was so much fun. And then I went to a yoga retreat at Gitana del Mar, kind of by Santa Marta, an hour away from Santa Marta. It was great. I didn't get a chance to go to Flying Tree Yoga, but I'd love to come back to Columbia. eventually. So hopefully I can visit your studio at some point, but want to keep practicing Spanish because it's the one language I think I could be, it's the most useful really for me and location.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Casey.
Okay, I'll go. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Brenda, and I live in Panama City, Panama, and I teach mostly in English, but sometimes I teach in Spanish, and I don't have a lot of confidence when I teach in Spanish. It's quite a different experience for me. Right now I'm doing a lot of classes online, and one of them, for example, is with a woman with dementia, who I usually teach in English, but her nurse only speaks Spanish. So I'm having to actually teach the class in kind of a bilingual, both English and Spanish. And so, yeah, and that's why I'm here, is to kind of become a little bit more precise in my directions when I teach in Spanish.
It's very challenging, isn't it? Teaching bilingually when you have to come out with it in English and in Spanish, and somehow, if it's a slower class, it's easier. But if you're doing a fast flow bilingually, I mean, it's almost impossible, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, I hear you. It's a challenge.
Hello, everybody. My name is Stanley. I'm in Washington State. I'm from here. I help to teach a Hatha Raja yoga course, which is like all the yoga postures, and then also pranayama and meditation. So that's kind of my passion. It's not a full-time thing. It's just, a couple times a week, a couple times a year. There's like different segments. And then just to keep it really brief, I think I'm mostly interested in kind of the creative state that we can tap into when we're speaking a second language, and how movement kind of plays into that. So it seems like yoga and learning a second language is kind of like the perfect recipe. I tapped into that before when I grew up playing a lot of soccer, and sometimes I would feel like my brain going into like Spanish mode, and I felt a lot of like creative energy. And so that was really joyful. And so I'm not really sure where this leads, but it's just a good expansive thing to do. So looking forward to it.
Thanks, Stanley. Appreciate that.
I'll go. My name's Megan, and I also live in Austin. It's pretty cool. Sarah May and I know each other, which is such a small world. Great surprise. I have been teaching yoga in Austin for about 6 years. I have Vinyasa, Kundalini, and Yin backgrounds, kind of like merged the worlds. I mostly teach Yin, and I currently sub and am working on an online yoga festival with some of my friends that'll launch at the end of April. So I'll send you guys that link when that happens. I've been speaking Spanish my whole life. I started when I was 4 and went through college with my degree in Spanish and Portuguese, and lived in Costa Rica, and I've lived in Brazil, and I actually almost moved to Mexico City to teach English as a second language, but moved in with my grandma to help her with her husband who had Alzheimer's, and I'm still here. And I'm thankful now that I'm here even more than I have been, because it's been a great time to rest. And I'm not teaching now. I'm using this time, I think someone else said it, like just to learn as much as I can. And I was going to go to Colombia. I think we got in touch a few years ago, and it didn't happen yet. And then I have a flight tracker for Medellin for this program. And so when Andrew emailed me about it being online, I was like, absolutely. I currently teach at a middle school that's like low income, 99% Spanish speaking. So most of the parents are either learning English or don't know English at all. And so I would really like to bring this kind of wellness into that community and teach the kids and have the kids be able to teach their parents this kind of like mindfulness to help rewire some of that generational and cultural trauma. And I love Spanish. It's like my favorite. So to have an outlet to explore yoga and Spanish and community all together feels really, really good right now. So I'm glad to be here.
Thanks so much, Megan.
I can go. Yeah, I'm Sam. I live in Spain, but I am from England, and I teach yoga here, but in English. But eventually, I want to be able to teach both in English and Spanish. So I feel like this course is great because it combines my two passions of yoga and Spanish together. And I was meaning to actually go to Colombia, to Medellin, but life takes over and I haven't managed to get over there yet. So it's good to have this as an opportunity. Like, it's amazing, especially now because I have so much free time on my hands. And yeah, my background in yoga is Hatha and Ashtanga, and I did my 200 hours in India. And what else? Yeah, at the moment I'm just focusing on my self-practice, studying Spanish, and yeah, so this is just perfect timing.
Thanks, Sam. So 2 people left.
Okay, I can go. Hi, everybody. My name is Selena. I live in New York, and I was going to be enrolled in the course. I was actually in Colombia and had to cut my work travels short to get back to New York. So I was considering like staying in Colombia and just being quarantined there, but that seemed fiscally impossible. And so I had to come home instead. So I was really happy that I got to do this mini version to at least get me back in the headspace for it. So I did my 200-hour teacher training in 2017 and then did a 300-hour that I still have to finish my homework for. So I'm using this course in part to get me back into teacher like training mode so that I can finish my homework. I have been practicing yoga since I was in my first year of college. So I always say that by now, if my yoga practice was a child, it would be off to college because I started in 2001. And I mostly have been practicing the other limbs of yoga. So even though I'm practicing some asana, most of my personal practice has been emphasized in meditation and pranayama these days. Before I decided to do this course, I had actually considered not teaching anymore at all because I have been slowly trying to build my yoga business with the intention of teaching yoga in New York, and also while I travel about half the year for my work with an educational nonprofit. I used to live in Mexico City teaching English. I lived there for 7 years and worked as an educator and psychotherapist. And so I did a little bit of yoga teaching there for fun in English and Spanish, but really mostly it was all in English. And so I was really looking forward to starting to combine my teaching with my travels throughout Latin America, so that while I'm traveling for my main job, I can also teach yoga either in giving it away by doing things in local centers and doing week-long intensives and those kinds of things as a traveling yogi. So that's the primary reason why I am here.
Thank you so much, Selena. Hi, Phoenix, I've unmuted you. Oh. I'll just give you a moment to sort out your technical issues there, and I'll just speak a little bit about my practice, my journey as well. So I started yoga in the United States. I lived there and worked as a teacher of ancient languages and literature. I was working primarily with Latin and ancient Greek, which gave me an amazing base with French as well to learn Spanish. I think once you have those languages, it gets a lot easier to learn another language from the same family that works off the same basis. I moved from there to Spain, which is where I really got into my yoga practice. And the funny thing was, by the time that I got around to doing my teacher training, I was much more used to practicing in Spanish than I was to practicing in English. So it was actually kind of a little tough to get into the mindset of teaching in English after I'd been practicing for so long. I did a couple of different styles of yoga when I was in Spain. There was a Bikram studio that was right outside my house. So I started off doing a bit of Bikram practice, but I don't know, it just didn't, the whole community didn't really click with me there. And I think that I always found it a little bit absurd that, you know, teacher would get towards the end of class, would say, you know, thank you, enjoy your Shavasana, stay for as long as you like, you know, come and chat to us afterwards. And then people would literally run for the door to be first into the shower, to be first onto the street. And I was lucky to come across a different yoga community it was partly Acro Yoga, and they did some other practices as well. But everything was super focused around community there. And so it really demonstrated to me the power that yoga can have to actually bring people together. And so after I did my teacher training in Southeast Asia, and I decided just to move out to Colombia, because why not? You know, I just wanted to kind of see what there was out here. And I ended up getting involved in all kinds of different yoga projects out here. And the opportunity came to open up Flying Tree. And it was really my, sort of one of my main intentions was to make this all about community. So in terms of sharing yoga with communities that maybe don't have much of a yoga practice. And so we have a really thriving community of Colombian practitioners, a lot of people who are at the beginner level, but slowly, little by little, you know, they're beginning to advance, they're beginning to progress, they're trying, you know, the vinyasa yoga, they're trying power yoga, they're trying relaxing yoga. So they're moving away from those beginners classes now and starting to sort of graduate into other classes as well, which is really, really nice to see. So yeah, I mean, I think I really hear you, and I really recognize a lot of your intentions to bring yoga to different communities that don't have a lot of access there. And I think that it's something that I'm going to really enjoy helping you with and supporting. So thank you, everyone. Phoenix, is your microphone working now? Is anybody else hearing Phoenix? No. I don't know, Phoenix. I think maybe you need to log back in again. I don't know, or use a different device. I'm not really certain about that. Okay, so when Phoenix manages to get that sorted out, we'll come back to her and she can introduce herself. So can you all see the Spanish language course for yoga teachers presentation on your screens? Yeah, that's coming through now. Awesome. All right, so I'd like to ask for a volunteer to help me read the welcome section. So if someone wants to unmute themselves and volunteer, that would be really appreciated.
I'll read.
All right, thank you.
Do you want me to just read the recommendations?
Yeah, let's just start from the very top and I'll jump in and explain things a little bit more.
Okay. All right. Flying Tree Spanish language course for yoga teachers, April 13th through 23rd, 2020.
Oh, are you not seeing the yoga in Spanish presentation right now?
Ooh, no.
Okay. Yeah, this is the inevitable part of the, yeah, how about now? Yes.
Okay.
All right. Got it. Okay. Can you now see what I'd like you to read?
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay. Welcome to the Yoga and Spanish language course. Over the next 2 weeks, we will be looking at a wide range of Spanish in order to help you along your personal path of practicing and teaching in a second language. Some of you will be absolute beginners looking to practice yoga in a second language for the first time. Others will be more advanced speakers looking to strengthen your grasp and guide whole yoga classes with confidence.
Okay, I'll just jump in there. So I think it's really, really important to recognize that everyone is at a super, super different level when they come to learning language. So some of you will be really just kind of getting going with the very basics. And if that's the case, you have to create a very different series of expectations for yourself than someone who has been learning Spanish literally since they were, an infant. So if you are just beginning Spanish, I think that the really important thing is being kind to yourself. A lot of people can be very, very self-critical when it comes to learning languages. They can judge themselves very harshly. And I think that's not really very helpful in terms of learning a language. At the end of the day, I mean, even I don't communicate perfectly in Spanish, and I've been speaking it, for years and years and years now. I still make mistakes, but I'm okay with that. I don't get frustrated. I don't criticize myself too much, because you know what? I'm going to be speaking all day tomorrow and all day the next day and all day the week after that. So it's fine. And it's like when you teach a yoga class, right? When you're a brand new teacher, you think it's got to be this perfect class. You've got to do everything just so. Everybody's got to have this amazing, deep, profound experience. And you know what? After you've taught for 3 or 4 years, you still want to give people a great experience, but you don't put yourself under the same pressure to deliver this, absolutely life-changing experience every single time. Because sometimes you're going to be tired. Some days you're just not going to feel it the same way as in other days, and that's fine. Because you know what? Tomorrow you're going to teach again, and then the next day, and next week, and next month. So a lot of it is just about managing your expectations of yourself. Be kind to yourself. And be patient, If you're a beginner speaker, choose a quantity of things to learn that's realistic as well. Don't expect yourself to learn 50 new words each day, because that's probably not going to happen. Stick with a lower number, 12 new words for each day. And you know what? By the sheer number of repetition over the next couple of weeks, you'll find that a lot of vocabulary will just make its way into your knowledge without even kind of trying too hard. All right. Thank you. Would somebody like to continue reading the presentation?
Sure.
Thanks.
Our teachers are here to help you reach your personal goals, whatever they might be. Here are some useful tips as you go along. Be patient with yourself. Start by teaching individual instructions, postures, or short sequences. With time, your confidence will grow and you can attempt whole classes and more complex instructions such as pranayama and meditation. Although it's natural to be shy, lead your classmates and you will soon find it easy. Write vocabulary, notes, and short phrases in Spanish that can stick easily in your memory. Keep a notebook where you can write down useful languages as you come across it.
And I think that's really important. So I'm just going to jump in there, Veronica. That in my experience as a language teacher, people who have the most success learning a language are people who can keep their learning really well organized. As you'll see, hopefully you'll want to use these notes again in half a year, in a couple of years. And if you manage to order them in a way that's easily understandable and accessible, vocabulary for body parts on one page, verbs with movement on another page, directions on another page. If you're able to rewrite your sequences in a nice kind of neat way, instead of people have these things with arrows pointing everywhere and, meanwhile their poor student is stuck in chaturanga while they're trying to find the instruction for the in-breath. Just make it easy for yourselves, and so that when you come back in future weeks and months and years, it's easy just to jump in wherever you left off. All right. Would somebody finish off the presentation for me?
Okay, I can do it.
Awesome.
Okay, write vocabulary notes and short. Okay, just did that one. Keep it simple. It is difficult to produce lengthy instructions in a foreign language, especially when you are at the beginner intermediate level. To keep a nice flow and avoid confusing students, produce short sentences. If in doubt, use the verb plus object plus direction preposition pattern. Try one instruction per posture and use physical demonstrations to guide. Avoid metaphorical phrases. This doesn't always translate very well into another language. Example, melt your heart center. Diversity of language, creative images, simile, and metaphor will come in time as your confidence grows.
Thanks so much, Stanley. Yeah, so a lot of you are going to have to change your expectations of what you're going to be able to do as a teacher. And that's normal when you first start off in a foreign language. Things are not going to come out at the same speed as you would be used to doing them in English. And they're not going to come out with the same fluidity as well. So you're going to need to get used to teaching with a reduced range of language. And that comes with its own challenges. But just kind of expecting that that's going to be the case is an important thing. Expecting that you're going to have to refine your language and really simplify it. And as well, be more physical. So really demonstrate when you're teaching is going to make things a lot easier for you. And you know what, as time goes on, you're going to find that things are just going to get a lot easier. You know, if you're attending online or otherwise a lot of classes in Spanish, phrases that the teacher used, they'll just stick in your mind. And then when you're teaching, they'll pop out and you'll kind of be surprised by it as well. So at the end of the day, fluency in a language is something that takes a minimum of around about 1,000 hours for a European language. And so if you think about how many hours you are into your language journey, fluency may be a reasonably long way off yet. So we'll just have to deal with that. But at the end of the day, patience and hard work are the things that are going to really, really pay off when it comes to this. All right, awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to split you into 4 smaller working groups, okay? So you're going to see a little invitation coming up onto your screen. When you go into the working groups, you can unmute your microphone. The idea is that they're meant to be discussion groups, so you can kind of converse with one another. And what I would like you to do is to take a clean sheet of paper and draw the outline of a human body, okay? So it doesn't need to be a work of art, but just anything that will help you kind of understand that. And in your group, I want you to brainstorm vocabulary for as many parts of the human body as you can. Does that make sense? So, yeah. I'm going to give you a 5-minute time limit for that. So after the 5 minutes are up, the groups will disappear and you'll come back into this main meeting room again. Does that make sense?
Do you want these words in Spanish or in English?
Good question. Yes, and there's another thing. There is no such thing as a silly question. All questions are really awesome when you come to learning a foreign language. So please ask away. I would like you to do this in Spanish. So brainstorm as many words in Spanish as you know in your group. Okay. So Helen's coming back in now. All right. Phoenix, is your audio working now?
You tell me. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yeah, I can hear you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So what are the things, where we're at and how we got into yoga, what we're looking forward to?
Exactly.
Okay, so my name is Phoenix. Hey, everyone. I'm in Hawaii right now. And I have been practicing yoga since 2015, certified in Vinyasa, and I teach out here in Hawaii. I also teach virtual yoga. I also teach body empowerment, clothing optional yoga. And my family is from Puerto Rico, but I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. And so I really speak like Spanglish, like I really speak like street Spanglish. And so this for me is really empowering for not only myself and my journey advancing my language skills, but also it's really empowering for my family who really has never really traveled outside the States. So I'm doing this not only for myself, but for my community, and hopes to bring this back to a lot of the women who are at the domestic violence shelter I volunteer at, who are interested in learning yoga, but we, the language, there's some dissonance there between my fluency and their fluency. So yeah, I'm up here to represent and have a good time, and I'm really thankful for this course as well. So yeah, I think that's the jam right there.
All right, thanks so much, Phoenix. It's lovely to have you with us today. All right, so I'm going to invite you into these breakout groups now. Let me see if I can do that. All right. Okay. So let's. So there should be a request coming up for you to join those breakout rooms. So again, a reminder: I want you to draw the outline of a human body, and in your groups, brainstorm as much language in Spanish as you can for the body. All right.
Okay, it says join here.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yes.
Good morning. Well, actually,
I was like, good morning. It's like 7 o'clock at night for you guys. Good morning.
I literally, when you said Hawaii, I literally just Googled what time is it in Hawaii. And I'm like, oh no.
Now you see
What time is it?
I'm over here
What?
like
6:30 in the morning.
Oh my gosh, wow. Yeah, that's great. Like exact
Okay.
opposite.
I'm just drawing my alien right now.
Yeah, man, my picture is really great, guys. And I used to teach art, so this is like extra impressive in case you.
Oh yeah, interpret
for you.
All right, awesome. So I want you to brainstorm together the language for different parts of the body. So if anybody knows it, you can just call it out and everybody can add it to their
Okay. I know head is cabeza.
I knew that
Eyes
was you, yay.
are ojos. Boca.
What?
Nariz. Sorry.
Close.
Cabeza,
Hey team, so the idea is that once you've created your drawing of the human being, you could brainstorm together all of the different words. So if you know the word for head, for example, you can call that out and everybody can add it to their drawing.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Thank you. Okay,
Rodilla?
so what did you say, sorry? Oh, rodilla, sí.
Rodillas?
So we have cabeza, manos, dedos, rodilla,
Piernas.
piernas.
Pero podemos comenzar con las partes más grandes y después más detalles.
Vale,
Sí.
Buena idea. Ok, entonces, cabeza,
Cabeza,
collar,
Hombros,
cuello,
cuello, hombros,
Hombros. Pecho, or pecho.
Pecho.
Pecho, your chest.
With a P, pecho.
Yeah, pecho.
Y los manos.
Las manos.
Las manos.
It's a tricky one, isn't it, Mano? Because it looks masculine, right? It has an O ending to it, but in fact, it's actually a feminine one, which is important if you start to use the words right and left, because it's la mano derecha, la mano izquierda, as opposed to izquierdo. Yeah.
Okay, gracias.
Dedos are fingers.
Fingers, yeah. Ombril, belly button.
Ombligo.
Ombligo.
It sounds kind of like umbilical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the way I remember it.
Ombligo. Is there one just for general, like core or trunk of like?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. I learned that yesterday. Tronco is like really your trunk, and then your core. I forget. Can I cheat and look at the document?
So there's a few different ways that you can talk about the core, right? So I think the most common thing would be to talk about like the abdomen, el abdomen.
Abdomen
would probably be the most common thing. I mean, you could talk about el centro del cuerpo, but they don't really use it in the same way to mean like core during classes. So I think when you're talking about core exercises, they say, vamos a hacer abdominales. You know,
Okay.
abdominales are exercises that kind of work your core.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go and check in with the other rooms now.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah.
Ribs are costilla.
Slang like
Yeah.
culo.
I was gonna say, I was like, I only know culo, but I think that means ass. I don't know if that's a good
not the word that I want to hear during this course.
You didn't know what butt
The
was.
old
Like, put your butt in the air.
Yeah, but that's a really interesting. It's a really interesting challenge, right? How do you talk about someone's backside? Because there are a lot of different ways of doing it. You can either be kind of technical, talking about the glute muscles. You can talk about people's tail. You can talk about their behind. But yeah, you definitely want to avoid the C word.
Now we know.
Okay, so when we have our vocabulary, are we supposed to come up with some sort of like commands or?
Not
what is
yet.
the
We're
next
just
step?
brainstorming
Oh, okay.
vocabulary for now.
Just getting the vocab. Okay.
Yeah.
I think we're talking
Um,
about, we need verbs, but we're not there yet.
Well,
Andrew,
we'll
how do you
verbs
say
and
elbow?
Yeah, verbs will come tomorrow. So just as many parts of the body as you all know. I'll give you a couple more minutes, and then we'll all come back together to share.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else we know?
Like want to say thighs or calves. I forget how I said that.
So the word for thighs. Have you ever been to a restaurant in Latin America? Because I always think about that, because they always sort of say, "¿Quieres muslo o pechuga?"
Yeah. Okay.
Muslo is the word for thigh, and pechuga is the word for a breast, like a chicken breast.
Yeah. Pechuga de pollo. That's a good one to remember.
Or muslo or alita as well. Alita is like a little wing. Chicken
Muslo.
wings. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
All
so
right.
we don't have upper arms or forearms. We haven't found those words yet.
That's all right. I will give you those words in just a moment. So I'm going to give everybody 1 minute more, and then we're going to stop the breakout rooms.
Oh, I use the word for chin a lot too, but I forget what that is too. In English, I use like chin or forehead. I use a lot.
So it begins with M, the word for chin in Spanish. Mentón.
Menton.
Yeah. In Spain, they actually use the word barbilla,
Oh, yeah.
like barba. But
Yeah, I thought that, yeah.
yeah, so it depends where you are, because in Latin America, they obviously have vocabulary that's a little bit different from peninsular Spain.
Yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, that's right. But well, I mean, the good thing is that I've been practicing in both areas, so I can give you a little bit of guidance there.
Okay,
and
great.
tell you which one's which. All right. So I think the room's about to close now, and we'll all go back to the main room.
A lot of people come here for their healing and to really just either ground themselves or going away from something and coming back to themselves.
Cool.
All right, welcome back, everyone. How did your brainstorming session go?
Muy bien.
Great.
Excelente, perfecto. Okay, so we're going to have a look and share some of our vocabulary now. So let me share my screen. We'll come back to this. Okay, so can you see the picture of a human body on your screens right now?
Yes. Yes.
All right, perfect. So, who would like to help me with some language for the top of the body, so the head and the face?
Cabeza.
La cabeza. So this is a useful little thing to know. So I'm sure most of you probably seen that words in Spanish have a gender, right? So they are usually masculine or they're feminine. If they're masculine, they usually end with an O. If they're feminine, they usually end with an A, but it's not 100%. So it's not always that way. To give you an example, el rostro. So el rostro is a word for your face in Spanish, right? So it ends with an O, and therefore the probability is that it's going to be masculine. La cabeza ends with an A, so the probability is it's going to be feminine. All right? Question?
I do have a question. What is the difference between el rostro and la cara?
Yeah,
That's
I was
a great
thinking that.
question. So I'll put those two words beside one another, el rostro and la cara. So usually for me, el rostro is talking about your features, right? Your physical face. Whereas cara can sometimes be more used for your expression. So for example, ¿por qué tienes tan mala cara? Is like, why do you look so miserable? You know, why do you have such a bad face, literally? So really, you can use both of them to talk about the face. Relaja tu cara, relaja tu rostro. People would understand those equally. But just so that you know, cara might be a little bit more associated with your expression. All right, great. So the other thing that I would like to ask, in the word cabeza, you have a Z. So those of you who live and work in Peninsular Spain, that's a th noise, cabeza, la cabeza, right? For those of you who are studying more Latin American Spanish, the Z and the S sound identical, so it's cabeza. Okay? So just for now, let's unmute our microphones, everyone. We're going to do a little bit of pronunciation together. Okay, so I'm going to say the word, and then I'd like you to repeat it with me. So, la cabeza.
La cabeza.
La cabeza.
La cabeza.
El rostro.
El rostro.
El rostro.
El rostro.
La cara.
La cara.
La cara.
La cara.
Beautiful. Great. So one thing I'd like to have a little bit of a focus on is how we pronounce vowels in Spanish, right? So in my experience, vowels in Spanish are pronounced much more strongly than they're pronounced in English, right? So in English, we have this kind of soft ah noise. In Spanish, it's more ah, yeah? A, e, I, o, u. So they sound a lot more kind of harsh, I think, than vowels typically do in English. So let's practice pronouncing those vowels together. So again, unmute your microphones and we can have a little bit of practice together. So a, e, o, u. Great, very good. So the difference with consonants in Spanish and in English is exactly the other way around. So consonants are usually pronounced in Spanish much more softly than they are in English. So, for example, k, d, h. They're softer. In English, it's k, d, p, g. They're these really hard kind of sounding letters, whereas in English, we have to kind of soften things. So you soften the consonants and you make the vowels sound a little bit harder. So with the word for face, cara, the C is soft and the A is hard. cara.
Cara.
Yeah. So it's a thing I'm a little bit of a stickler for, because in English we often say, especially, you know, if we have a kind of a stronger accent, rostro, which sounds really harsh to a Spanish speaker, rostro. What you need to do is make the R, the S, the T softer and make the O's stronger. Rostro. Rostro.
Rostro.
Good.
Rostro.
Excellent. So I'm going to be helping you a little bit with your pronunciation. Okay, so who's got any other words for areas of the head, face, and neck?
Mentón.
El mentón. Good. So the word for mentón, can anyone help me? What is your mentón?
Chin.
Good. Chin. Very good. Yeah. So the word for chin, in Spain, you'll probably see people using the word barbilla, but in Latin America, it's much more common to hear the word mentón. So again, it depends on where you're going to be speaking your Spanish. Good. Okay. Other words for the head, face, and neck.
Mandíbula.
La mandíbula. I like that word very much, and it sounds kind of similar to a word that we've got in English. What word does it sound like in English?
Mandible.
Mandible, yeah. So, in fact, autocorrect corrected it to mandible. Mandíbula, la mandíbula. Won't let me. La mandíbula. Good. So your mandíbula is your jaw.
Oh, nice. As opposed to boca, which we did come up with for the mouth.
Good. So la boca, and again, this is an example where we need to make the vowel sound harder and the consonant sound softer, because it's not boca, it's la boca. La boca.
La boca.
La boca. Yeah. So it's almost like a kind of a W noise here in Latin America, la boca, as opposed to a B noise.
Boca.
La boca.
La boca.
Boca.
Great. Okay. Any other names for parts of the head, neck, and face?
Nariz.
La nariz. Very good. So again, that's a word that ends with a Z. So la nariz in Peninsular Spain and la nariz in Latin American Spanish.
Los ojos.
Los ojos. Very good. So that's another word with a J in it. So when the J occupies this position, it's a soft noise like an H. Okay, so los ojos. So let's pronounce that together. Los ojos.
Los
ojos. Los ojos.
Los ojos.
Los ojos.
Los ojos.
Good. And what does it mean if you hear someone shouting at you, "Oh"?
Careful.
Watch out.
Yeah, watch out. So you might hear that in a yoga class, that a teacher might say, "Pero ojo, no sobreestires tu pierna." Yeah, watch out. Don't overstretch your leg, for example. So ojo can be used in that context as like a warning. Yeah, so watch out. Your ojos are your eyes. What about then the words for your ears? There's a couple of words here.
Orejas.
Good, so that's one word. Las orejas, again, a word with a J in it. But there's another word that we can use for ears as well.
Oído.
Good. So there's a difference here. There's a difference between la oreja and el oído. Can someone tell me what that difference is?
I think oreja is the outside part of your ear, but oído is like your inner ear, like
Exactly.
your actual ear.
So oído is associated with the verb oír, all right? And oír means to hear, yeah? So when you get a Spanish person saying oye or oiga, if they're trying to be a bit more polite, it means literally hear me, listen up. And so your oídos are the part of your ears that listen. So if you hear a teacher saying, tapamos, let's block our oídos, they're telling you to kind of close off so that you can't hear, yeah? Whereas if you're talking more about your physical ear, the skin and cartilage, then you're more likely to be using the word la oreja, la oreja. Any questions? Have a little look at the word oído. What do you see over the eye?
Un acento.
Yeah, so they call it un tilde. And un tilde is what we would call in English an accent, right? Why do we put accents on Spanish words? What's the purpose?
Accentuate the letter, the sound of the letter.
One more time, Veronica, so I didn't quite catch that.
To accentuate the sound of that letter.
That's correct, yeah. So there's a whole series of rules in Spanish, right? About how words should be pronounced, and specifically about where the stress should go on any word. Because it's different to say mandíbula, mandíbula, or mandíbula, right? They all have different stress patterns. So as a very, very, very general rule, you'll find plenty of exceptions. The stress comes on the second to last syllable, right? Rostro, cabeza, cara, boca, orejas, oídos, ojos, right? If the stress doesn't come where you'd expect it to come, that's when we start to put an accent. So if you have a look at the word mentón here, we'd usually expect the stress to come on the second to last syllable, mentón, yeah? But it doesn't. In this word, the stress comes on the last syllable, mentón. And for that reason, there's an accent over the O, okay? It doesn't really matter if learning all of these rules is not really strictly necessary, but just so that you know, if you see a word that has an accent over it, place the stress where the accent is. Does that make sense? All right, awesome. Okay, so we've got a pretty good set of vocabulary now for the face. What about for the neck?
El cuello.
Very nice. So, can you see that this word has a double L in the middle of it there? Yeah? So a double L in Spanish is pronounced like a y noise, cuello. Yeah? In certain parts of Latin America, they might pronounce a double L like a j or like a sh, depending on where they come from. So if any of you have heard people pronounce Medellín, Medellín is pronounced with a kind of a little bit of a j noise. Yeah? If you come from Argentina, they might even pronounce it with a sh, el cuello, right? But for our purposes, we're just going to pronounce it with a y noise and make it nice and simple, el cuello. Great. Okay, moving down the body. What about words for the shoulders and chest?
Hombros.
Good.
Los
So,
hombros.
los or el hombro is your shoulder. Notice that the word starts with an H, but the H is silent, right? El hombro. Yeah, so we don't hear that H at all. It's also important to distinguish hombro from hombre. Yeah, because we often have students making that confusion. And once in class, one of our students came out with the phrase, relajamos los hombres, let's relax the men. And all of the old ladies were duly scandalized and kind of tittering behind their hands. So yeah, make sure that we get that one right. El hombro. Relajamos los hombros. Relax your shoulders. Good. Okay. Any other vocabulary for this area, for the shoulders and chest?
Brazos.
Good. Los brazos. Again, it's got a Z in it, so in peninsular Spain, it'll be los brazos. Yeah. What word for? Sorry, go ahead.
El pecho.
El pecho. Yeah, we'll come back to that in a moment. So with brazos or brazos, What word does it kind of sound like that means a hug?
Abrazar.
Yeah, so the
Un
word for
abrazo.
hug, the noun, is un abrazo. Un abrazo. Dame un abrazo. Give me a hug. Yeah. So that's just a nice word to have as well. Un abrazo is a hug because you do it with your brazos, your brazos. So if your brazo is your arm, what is your forearm?
Antebrazo.
Antebrazo.
Good. So the word for for or before in Spanish is antes. So the word for a forearm is el antebrazo. Good. That's your forearm. All right. Good. What do you have between your upper arm and your forearm?
El codo.
Your elbow. Good. So your elbow is el codo. And again, notice how that word is pronounced. It's not codo, it's codo. Yeah? So the o, the vowel, sounds harsh, o. But the C and the D are very soft. Codo. Right? So let's all say it together. El codo.
El codo.
El codo.
El codo.
El codo.
El codo.
Beautiful. Well done, everyone. Good. So you've got your codos, your elbows. What about moving down? Between your forearm and your hand, you have your
Wrist.
your wrist.
Muñeca.
Good. So it's a kind of a funny sounding word. La muñeca. So do you notice that we have this tilde, this accent over the N here? That makes it into a different letter. That letter is called ñ, and it sounds like ñe. Okay? So, la muñeca. Okay. What else does muñeca mean? It doesn't
Is it
just
doll?
mean this. Yeah, it can mean doll as well, or it can mean kind of babe. So quite often you'll hear people on the construction sites here saying, oye, muñeca. So yeah, just so if you can recognize Latin American catcalling going on. But yeah, in our context, la muñeca is your wrist. Good. Okay. So you've got your muñeca. What do we have below the muñeca?
Dedos. Manos.
Good. So we'll start with mano. Now, this is a slightly confusing word. It looks masculine, right? But it's not. It's a feminine word. So, la mano. It's one of the words that I end up correcting most in Spanish. Why does that matter? It matters when we start to use adjectives like derecho and izquierdo, right and left, because we need to make them agree with the word mano. We'll come back to that a little bit later in class, okay? Good. Somebody said, what was the word for fingers?
Dedos.
Los dedos. Now, funny fact, in Spanish, the word for fingers of your hand and fingers of your feet is the same word. So they don't have a different word for toes, right? So if you need to distinguish, you can say los dedos de la mano. And then you can say los dedos del pie. So those are your foot fingers, yeah? Your foot fingers and your hand fingers. Good, well done. All right, that's awesome. So we've got all of the words for shoulder down to hand now. One other word that might be useful is your palm. We talk about the palms a lot in yoga, right? Especially when we're doing planks, when we're doing down dogs. The good news is that the word for palm in Spanish sounds kind of similar to English. Anyone?
La palma.
La palma. Very good. So the word for the palm of your hand and the word for a palm tree, again, is the same word, funnily enough, in Spanish. So las palmas can also be like a word for palm trees. Good. So la palma, the palm of the hand. What about moving back to the chest?
Pecho.
Pecho.
Good. El pecho. Good. So that's your chest. El pecho.
Do you use pecho, torso? Can you use those interchangeably?
Right. So pecho is specifically for me kind of talking about the area of the upper torso, right? So the area of like the pectoral muscles, the the sternum. For me, el torso is really the whole of the upper body between the hips and the shoulders. But yeah, el torso is another really super useful word.
I've heard tronco también. Is that pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, tronco again is talking about that sort of core part of the body between the hips and the shoulders, your trunk. We use the word trunk in English. So el torso, el tronco. Yeah, you can also, that's also the word for the trunk of a tree. El tronco del árbol.
Oh, Andrew?
Yeah.
Are we going to talk, this is all kind of facing the front of the body, which is fine. But will we also talk about the back of the body as well?
Let's do that right now, shall we? So if we've got the word for the torso, the chest, what words can you think of that might be useful for the back?
Espalda.
Right, so la espalda. Okay, la espalda is the whole of your back. Good. What other words might be useful in English if you don't know the Spanish for your back body?
Los omóplatos.
Right, so let's stick with that for a moment. Los omóplatos. Okay, so what are your omóplatos?
Shoulder blades.
Your shoulder blades. And if we wanted to be a bit more technical, we could use the word the scapula, right? In Spanish, las escápulas. So can everybody see those words there? Los omóplatos, las escápulas. Good. Somebody mentioned the spine, and I think the spine is a useful word to, is a useful one to learn several different words for. So, if we wanted to just pick a word for the whole of the spine, what would that word be?
La columna.
Good. Again, it's a word where we really need to emphasize the sound of those vowels. Columna. Yeah, so it's not columna, which is kind of how we might pronounce it in English, but we really need to make the O and the U. So let's pronounce it together. La columna.
La columna.
La columna.
La columna.
La columna.
La columna.
Las escápulas.
Las escápulas.
Los omóplatos.
Los omóplatos.
El mentón.
El mentón.
La muñeca.
La muñeca.
La mandíbula.
La
La mandíbula.
La espalda.
La espalda.
Very good. Well done. All right.
Andrew, just a quick question.
Please.
So when I look up spine, it usually says la columna vertebral. But it's okay in yoga to just say columna. That's
Exactly. Yeah. So if you did want to use the whole word, it would be la columna vertebral. But because it's a bit of a mouthful to say in Spanish, la columna vertebral, you can just shorten that to la columna. Alargamos la columna. Enderezamos la columna. Good. However, you might want to be a bit more specific about the part of the spine that you're talking about. So we have 5 parts in our spine, right? We have 3 parts in our main spine and then 2 parts in the pelvic spine. So what are those parts?
Lumbar spine, thoracic spine.
Cervical.
Good. So those are the 3 parts of the main spine. So in Spanish, we can talk about zonas. Right? What does a zona mean?
Zone. Area, zone.
Yeah, an area or a zone. So we'll talk about those 3 areas or zones. So you can talk about la zona cervical. Yeah, so your cervical area, your cervical spine. La zona torácica. And la zona lumbar. Okay, So those are the three areas. So if you want people to, for example, to engage their lumbar spine, activamos la zona lumbar y abrimos la zona torácica. So engage your lumbar spine and open your thoracic spine. Yeah. Good. So if those are the three areas for the main spine, what are the two areas of your pelvic spine?
I would say the sacrum and the
coccyx.
I don't know, table.
So they're nice and easy words in Spanish. The word for sacrum is el sacro, right? Your sacrum. And who can spell for me coccyx in English?
O-C-C-Y-X, I think.
It's a horrendous spelling, isn't it? It's really, really horrible. Especially for any foreign speakers who've got to learn English with a double C, a Y, and an X. In Spanish, it literally sounds like it's written. So it's el coxis, X-I-S. That's nice and easy, no?
Mm-hmm.
El sacro y el coxis. Good. Are all of these words appearing on your screen reasonably well? You can read what I'm writing?
Yes.
Oh, all right, great. Good. So we haven't really got very many words yet for the area of the abdomen. So let's see if we can brainstorm some words together. Who knows any words for your core, your abdomen, the center of your body?
El abdomen.
Good. So that's one nice one. El abdomen. And I liked how you pronounced that, right? Because in English, how do we say it?
Abdomen.
Abdomen. So the stress in English is at the beginning of the word, the abdomen. In Spanish, it's in the center of the word, el abdomen. Because remember, again, a lot of words, they have their stress on the second to last syllable. So, and that's the O here, el abdomen. Good. Okay. What other words can we use for the center of the body?
El ombligo.
Good. So that's the word for you specifically for what?
Your navel.
Yeah, your navel, your belly button. It's connected in English to the word umbilical. So if you're ever wanting, a mnemonic, a kind of a thing to help you remember the word, ombligo is a good way to associate with umbilical. Good. What else?
Costillas.
I will come back to those. So, not cinturón, but la cintura. What is your cintura?
Your waist.
Your waist, yeah. So you might hear yoga teachers saying, place your hands on your waist or at waist level. Good, so la cintura, your waist. Good, okay, well done. Let's come back to costillas. What are your costillas?
Ribs.
Your ribs. One of people's favorite foods here in Colombia, las costillas. Good. Okay, your ribs. Well done. All right, let's move back to the waist. And specifically, is there a nice, easy word in Spanish for pelvis?
El pelvis.
Yeah, it's literally the same, la pelvis. So that's the nice thing about Spanish is that a lot of parts of the body, they have similarities to English parts of the bodies as well. Sacro, sacrum, coccyx, coccyx, pelvis, pelvis. If you start to get technical, a lot of the muscle names are literally the same. So los bíceps, los tríceps, los cuádriceps, yeah? So a lot of the words are the same. One word that is not the same, however, are your hamstrings. So here's a little anatomy lesson for you. Who can tell me where is the origin of the hamstring muscles?
Under the glute?
They are under the glute. Yeah, what part, what bone do they attach to?
Sit bones.
Yes, and the sit bones, what's the technical word for those in our anatomy?
Gluteus maximus.
Oh, so that's the muscle. What about the bone that they're attached into? So the bone, it's a part of the ischium. right? So the ischium is that bottom part of this pelvis, and your sit bones are called the ischial tuberosity. Not that you really need to know that, but the word ischium is going to be very useful because your sit bones in Spanish are los isquiones, right? Los isquiones are your sit bones, because they're basically those parts that protrude, and that's what a tuberosity is. It's like a sticky out bit, right? Where muscles can attach into. So that's your ischium, okay? Los isquiones, good. Okay, so if that's the origin of your hamstrings, where is the insertion for your hamstrings? There's actually two correct answers here. So the origin is where the muscle starts, the point closest to the center of the body. The insertion is the furthest away point of the body where the muscle attaches to.
La rodilla?
So it actually goes beyond the knee, right? And if you have a look at the tendons on your hamstrings, you'll see them go across the knee and attach into your tibia, right? So our hamstrings are what we call a two-joint muscle, yeah, a biarticular muscle, because they actually work across two different joints. They work across the hip joint and across the knee joint. Now, all of this was just to say, how do we write hamstrings in Spanish? And we basically use the word for the origin and the word for the insertion, and we put them together. So they are los isquiotibiales. And that's it. Los isquiotibiales. It's a bit of a mouthful, but that's the word for your hamstrings.
Isquiotibiales.
Los isquiotibiales.
Tibiales.
All right, well done, everybody. So those are a bit of a mouthful, kind of a difficult word to learn. Luckily, the word for thigh is a little bit easier. Does anybody know the word for thigh?
Los muslos?
Correct. Los muslos. Now, you need to be careful not to confuse the word muslo with the word for muscle, right? Because muslo means thigh, but un musculo with a C and with an accent is the word for a muscle, right? Un músculo. What's the word for a bone?
Huesos.
Hueso.
Un hueso. What's the word for skin?
Piel.
La piel. Good. Okay, so let's move a little bit further down the body now. Below our muslos, we have our knees. What's the word for knee in Spanish?
Rodilla.
La rodilla. Good, the knee. So you need to be a little bit careful with your genders here, right? Because if you called it un rodillo, what would you be saying?
A screw?
What's a rodillo? A rodillo is a rolling pin, like what you would use in the kitchen to roll out your dough with. So you need to be a little bit careful sometimes with your genders. But that's la rodilla. Good. Let's come down now into the shin and into our, what do we call it? Calf. So a word for the shin?
Espinilla.
Good. Espinilla. Good. Espinilla is your shin. And what about the word for your calf?
Gemelo.
Yeah, so that's very curious, I think. El gemelo. What does a gemelo mean in Spanish?
A twin.
Twin.
A twin. Why would you refer to your calf as a twin?
There's two of them. I don't know.
What do we think?
Because there are two of them.
Well, there's two parts of the calf.
Right. Well, I mean, there's two muscles. So you have your soleus, which is the muscle that's kind of underneath everything else. That's very, very strong. And then sat on top of the soleus, you've got your gastrocnemius muscle. Now, if you have a look on, you do a quick Google search and you type in gastrocnemius, you'll see that it's a muscle that has two bellies, right? You ever seen these photos of bodybuilders who look as though they have it's kind of like a little butt at the back of their leg, at the back of their calf. And it can be very, very pronounced sometimes. So yeah, I can see that some people are doing a little bit of a Googling now. But the gastrocnemius muscle is a twin muscle, basically. It looks like it has these two bellies to it. Good. Talking of butts, did anyone solve that problem when it comes to finding a suitable Spanish word for it?
For what? For butt?
For your backside, your behind.
Tus nalgas, tus glúteos.
Right, so you've got several different options here. Number one, you could be technical. If you wanted to talk about los glúteos, that would be the word for your glute muscles. Good. What other word might we use to talk about your backside?
It's culo, but that's not very nice.
Yeah, you would definitely avoid that word in Spanish.
Yeah, exactly.
They would consider una grosería in Spanish.
Yeah.
So it'd be like a naughty word. So yeah, definitely not for yoga class. What else?
Trasero.
El trasero is possible, yeah, your backside. Also, la cola. Yeah, your cola would be your tail. Right? La cola.
And what's el trasero? What is that?
El trasero is again your backside.
Could you use la cola similarly to el coxis?
You could, exactly, yeah. So metemos cola, that phrase, meter means to kind of bring something underneath. So the phrase metemos la cola would be to tuck the tailbone in Spanish, meter la cola. Or metemos el coxis as well. All right, good.
What about posterior?
Tu posterior. I think that it's a very vague word. Posterior could really be used to refer to any part of your back body. Yeah. So if in doubt, talk about los glúteos, el trasero, o la cola. Good. Okay. So moving back down to the foot, there's a couple of parts of the foot that I'd like to introduce. Does anybody know the word for ankle, first of all?
El tobillo.
Nice. So it's another word with a double L in it, tobillo. And again, notice that the T is soft, the B is soft. So it's not tobillo or tobillo, it's tobillo, el tobillo. So it's a kind of a soft consonant there again. Tobillo. Good. Okay. Any other parts of the foot that might be useful?
La planta.
La planta del pie, good. Is your
sole.
The sole of your foot. And I like to think about it because you plant the sole of the foot on the floor, right? So la planta del pie. I don't know, it's just something that helped me remember it. La planta. And here's a really odd word in Spanish. In English, do we have a word that talks about the top of our foot? We just have to say that, right? We have to say, place the top of the foot on the floor. In Spanish, they actually have a word for it, which is el empeine. So your empeine is, that top part of your foot. So colocamos los empeines en el suelo. Place the tops of your feet on the floor. Okay, so I reckon that's probably enough vocabulary for today. Does anybody have any other things that they think might be super, super important for now to add?
I got
the heel.
What about your instep? I mean, your your arch of your foot.
Good. Okay. So yeah, let's put the arch down. Again, nice, easy word in Spanish, el arco, which is the same word for a bow. Okay. So if you're talking about bow pose, if you're making a bow shape, you use the same word, el arco, the arch.
Is there a separate word for inner thighs?
Yeah, so the word that I've often heard for inner thighs is la entrepierna. So that literally means the area between your legs, la entrepierna.
Okay.
What about the forehead? Going back to the head. Your forehead.
Yeah, why not? Let's put the word for forehead down as well. So the word for your forehead is la frente. So be a little bit careful because some people mistake the word frente and the word front. So you can't say, for example, vamos a la frente de la colchoneta. Let's go to the front of the mat. No, because it sounds like you're talking about the mat's forehead there, and it sounds very odd. Okay.
Well, and the word for foot or feet, is it las or los pies?
What do you think? Is pie masculine or feminine?
I think it's masculine, but
it is. Yeah, so it's los pies. That's correct.
Someone asked about the heel. How do you say heel, and how do you say metatarsals? Like, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to keep it reasonably simple today, just because it can be very overwhelming to have so much vocabulary. So first of all, the word for heel is el talón. And if you think about birds, where is it that their talons protrude from? It's from their heels, right? So it can be kind of a nice way to help you remember that word as well, el talón. Metatarsals is los metatarsos. But again, I'm not going to write that down because I don't want people to get too swamped. Los metatarsos.
Andrew, just one question that's easy, if it's
Yeah.
a word. I think I saw somewhere where you had la bola del pie for the ball of the foot.
Yeah.
And I had a really hard time when I was trying to figure out what that was in Panama. And I think I came up with the word from Spain was like el almohadilla, like the little pillow.
La almohadilla. Yeah, so almohadilla means like a cushion, right? And so that part of the foot is slightly cushioned. So yeah, I mean, I think you'll definitely hear people talk about...
But do you say la bola?
I do, but I mean, again, that's just because of regional differences, I think. And I've definitely heard people talk about las almohadillas, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, good. So yeah, do bear in mind that there might be regional differences for a lot of these things. That's just the nature of Spanish. I mean, it's impossible to give like one rule that will fit every single country. There will be a lot of unusual things that people will use. Okay, so let's, we're going to break off into our groups now. What I'd like you to do is to see how many things you can do from memory. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes now to memorize as many words as you can. And then we're going to break away into our groups. We're going to break away into different groups this time. And I'm going to get you to see how many you can recall. So you've got 2 minutes exactly. And then I'm going to divide you into your groups. So when you're ready, get going and see how many you can remember.
Quick question, Andrew.
Yeah.
This page, like I've got this scribbly thing that I've been taking notes in, which is what I'll use. But is it possible for you to save that page that you've created there and send it around?
So in your handout, you should already have there a full list of all of the parts of the body.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll use that and not the what you've just created.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like a rough draft just to help me kind of place things in, you know, more. If you like, I can take a screenshot of this and share it with you as well. It's no problem.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind it because it's nice and simple and everything is in the spot instead of a list beside it.
Okay, I'll do that then. All right.
Yeah, if you
You've got
mind, thank you.
1.5 minutes now, and then we'll split off into our groups. Okay, so I'm going to split you off onto groups now. So please put your notes away and we'll just see how much of this we can do from memory. So, okay. Great, so you should now have the invitation to join your groups.
I can write them down, whatever we had.
Is Helen here?
I see her camera, but not her. Oh, thanks.
I'll make sure she's here.
Oh, thanks.
Boca, orejas y
Oídos.
oídos. Cabeza. El cuello. Los hombros.
Oh, mentón y barbilla.
What was the word for your neck?
El cuello. El cuello.
Cuello, there we go. So it's double L in it. Well done.
Your mouth, mandia. It was like mandibles.
Yeah, so just if you were to put the word mandible directly into Spanish, what would it sound like?
Mandíbula.
La mandíbula. That's right. Yep, las mandíbulas.
I don't know that word in English.
But you learned it now. Today you're working.
I'm learning my own language.
Los hombros.
La clavija.
Oh.
That was a good word that we didn't actually put down.
Collarbones.
Your clavicles.
Clavícula. Pecho. Biceps.
Tuck your belly or pull your belly in.
Yeah. No sé. ¿Cómo se dice?
So don't worry too much about how to say these kind of more technical phrases right now, because we're going to be getting to that in the coming days. The task for today is really just about remembering vocabulary for body parts.
Okay.
Sí.
Yo pienso que todo es tan intuitiva para todo.
La verdad es que para nosotros, Andrew, tenemos casi todos de estos al principio.
Ah, perfecto. Entonces, para ti, el trabajo va a ser revisar muy bien tu handout, tu workbook, ¿cierto? Y averiguar si tienes todo ese vocabulario en tu práctica, porque me imagino que hay ciertas cosas que todavía, como isquiones, como isquiotibiales, como pues las palabras más técnicas, ¿cierto? El esternón, las escápulas, las rótulas. Este de palabra es, pues, son muy útiles, que te van a ayudar como a refinar un poquito más tu vocabulario. Y
el suelo pélvico, por ejemplo.
El suelo pélvico, exacto.
La ingle.
La
no sé esta palabra, sí.
Very good, yeah.
Sí, palabras así.
El fémur, por ejemplo.
¿Cómo?
Your femur.
Yeah, vale.
And you might want to learn words such as los ligamentos, los tendones, la nuca, the back of your neck.
Pero también hay otra palabra para calves, las pantorrillas.
Correcto.
Que tiene aquí.
Pantorrillas, vale.
Sí, esto es lo que aprendí, esta palabra.
Perfecto, sí. Yes.
No los gemelos.
Ajá. Sí, pues se escuchan las dos cosas. Son bastante comunes.
Vale.
No, obviously today is going to be a little bit more basic for you. But I imagine once we get over these initial steps of learning the basic parts of the body and the words for basic movement and prepositions, at that point, when we move into our breakout groups to work with the individual teachers, you'll be working much more on your own level at that point. But it's good just to make sure that you have that stable base, that you have all of that vocabulary there before we get going with the more challenging aspects.
Definitely.
All right, I'm going to end these breakout rooms now, and we'll come back together. Okay. Any other questions in the meantime? Any other questions in the meantime?
Okay, so just because I think I missed it, the difference, los glúteos, el trasero, and la cola. ¿Qué es la cola?
A cola is a tail, yeah? So on an animal, like, you know, the cola would be its literal tail. If you think about English, like maybe 100 years ago, people would say, well, you know, they used the word tail to talk about their backside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in Spanish, you can do the same thing. La cola can just be your tail, your coccyx, the back part of your pelvis.
Is it like tailbone, or do we say coccyx for tailbone?
Coccyx for tailbone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to present to you today is, let me share my screen again, is how to use adjectives, right? So what is an adjective?
Describing what?
Describes a noun.
Yeah, so it describes a noun. So if we want to describe parts of our body, and usually it would be, for example, oops, beg your pardon, using words like left and right, because they're descriptive words, right? When you say your right arm, you're describing your arm as right. But you might also want to use words such as front and back. Because if you're standing in, for example, warrior 2, you might want to talk about the angle of the front foot and the angle of the back foot. So an adjective is a describing word that should agree in gender and number with the noun. Okay? So for example, let's take the word el brazo. Okay? The word brazo, is it masculine or feminine?
Masculine.
Masculine. Singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular. It's a singular masculine word. So therefore, we've got to choose an adjective that is singular and masculine to accompany it. So the words for right and the word for left are derecho, or if it's feminine, derecha. Right? If it's masculine plural, it would be derechos. If it's feminine plural, derechas. Okay? As for the word for left, what is it in Spanish?
Izquierda.
It's a funny looking word, izquierdo, or in feminine, izquierda. So, when we're describing the word brazo, the right arm, how do we say that?
El brazo derecho.
Good, el brazo derecho. And you'll notice, for those of you who are a little bit more new to Spanish, that the describing word comes after the noun, not before it. So in English, we say the right arm. But in Spanish, they say the arm right, el brazo derecho. So it would be incorrect in Spanish to say el derecho brazo. That would sound very, very odd to a Spanish speaker. Okay, well, let's take the word for leg. What's the word for leg?
Pierna.
La pierna. Masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
So let's describe it as your left leg.
La pierna izquierda.
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 Good. So it's feminine. So the adjective also needs to be feminine. Then you've got words like la mano. All right. So is la mano masculine or feminine?
Feminine.
Feminine. So we need to say derecha. Right. So la mano derecha and la mano izquierda. So that catches a lot of people out. Yeah. When they're speaking in Spanish, they say la mano derecho, la mano izquierdo. But that to a Spanish speaker, again, sounds really, really odd. Okay.
So do you always go by the article?
Exactly. The article is the word for the, in this case, la. Okay? Just for those of you who are not sure what article means. Perfect. What about the word for front and back?
El frente.
What about an adjective to say front?
Oh.
Frontal.
Delantero. Delantero. So, if I wanted to talk about my front foot, I would say what?
El pie delantero.
Delantero. El pie delantero. Yeah? And then we've got the word for back. Yeah? So the word for back is trasero and trasera. So, for example, talking about the back leg would be la pierna trasera. So we have a lot of useful adjectives here, and I've got them in your handout. You'll see activo, alargado, alejado, apretado, arqueado, cercano, contrario, delantero, derecho, doblado, encorvado, frontal, izquierdo, etc., etc., etc. So there's tons of words there that can help us practice. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to guide you all through a short practice, a short asana practice in perfect Spanglish. Okay. So what I'm going to be using for today are parts of the body in Spanish, and the rest I'm going to be guiding in English. All right. So we'll just see exactly where we get to with this. So it's going to be a little bit of an experiment. So if you could all find yourself a comfortable space to practice. I'm going to turn my camera around. Let's stop sharing screen now. Okay, so you can all see me reasonably well. I'm going to turn my camera around. I've got my mat set up there. Okay. So let's start in our mats. Okay. So first of all, I would like you to separate los pies. Separate los pies, and I'd like you to lift los dedos de los pies. And you'll see how that helps you to engage el arco. Can everybody see el arco? Yeah, your arch of your foot. El arco está activo. Your arch is active. Now, let's place los dedos de los pies back onto your mat. Good. I want you to bend ever so slightly las rodillas, tuck la cola, and bring el abdomen in towards la columna. So we're bringing the belly in towards the spine. Now, from here, let's roll los hombros upwards and backwards and connect los omóplatos. Open las manos to the front of the room. Good. With the inhalation, let's raise los brazos over la cabeza. Exhale, bring las palmas to el pecho, and we can fold forwards. Relax the whole of la espalda. And you can stretch una pierna y la otra pierna. Good. Embrace los antebrazos and hug los codos. Release los codos and place las manos on the floor, en el suelo. Good. Step back with el pie derecho and then with el pie izquierdo. Good. And we're here in what's called la tabla, the plank pose. Lower las rodillas to your mat, then el pecho, then el mentón in Ashtanga Namaskara. Good. Inhale, bring el pecho forwards and rest los empeines, the tops of the feet, on the floor. Rotate los hombros upwards and backwards, hacia arriba y hacia atrás, and let's raise el pecho. Good. Cobra pose, la postura de la cobra. Good. With the exhalation, come up onto las rodillas and tuck the toes. So I've quite often heard this as being con los dedos en corredor, yeah, with your toes in runner's position. Beautiful. From here, let's lift las caderas upwards and backwards. And keep las rodillas dobladas. Keep your knees slightly bent. Good. Lengthen los costados del torso, lengthen the sides of the body, and then lower un talón y el otro talón. So lower one heel and the other to the mat. Good. Gaze entre las manos, gaze between the hands, and step forwards. Lengthen la columna, lengthen the whole of the spine. Exhale, relax the whole of la espalda. Relax el cuello y la zona cervical. Good. Inhale, raise yourself vértebra por vértebra. And raise los brazos y las manos above la cabeza. Exhale, bring las palmas to el pecho. Inhale, a little faster now. Raise las manos. Exhale, manos al pecho and forward fold. Relax las manos, el cuello, los hombros, los brazos. Inhale, straighten toda la columna, straighten the whole of your spine. Firmly plant las manos en el suelo, on the floor. Step back with el pie derecho and el pie izquierdo. Pausa. Good. Drop rodillas, pecho y mentón al suelo, to the floor. Inhale. Elevamos pecho. Raise your chest. Empeines en el suelo. Exhale. Subimos a 4 puntos. Come up to 4 points of support, or what would we call this? Cat-cow position. Good. Tuck the toes. Metemos los dedos. And then raise la cadera upwards and backwards. Good. Lengthen toda la columna. Lengthen the whole of your spine. Lengthen los costados, the sides of your body. Good. Inhale, gaze between your hands. Step forwards. Lengthen la columna. Lengthen la espalda. Exhale, forward fold. Relajamos el cuello, el torso, todo el tronco. Inhale, raise vértebra por vértebra. Good. Stretch los brazos above la cabeza. Exhale, bring las palmas to el pecho. Good. Let's come through a slightly different flow this time. Inhale, raise las palmas, las manos sobre la cabeza. Exhalamos, manos al pecho, nos doblamos. Inhalamos, alargamos toda la columna, miramos entre las manos. Con la exhalación, plantamos las manos en la tierra, damos un paso atrás a la plancha. Good, so I'm starting to use a bit more Spanish now. Exhalamos, bajamos rodillas, pecho y mentón al suelo. Inhalamos, vamos hacia adelante, subimos pecho en la cobra. Bien, de aquí subimos sobre las rodillas, dedos de los pies en corredor, levantamos la cadera en perro que mira hacia abajo. downward facing dog. Respiramos 3 veces aquí, alargamos los costados, rotamos los isquiones hacia el cielo. Con la inhalación miramos entre las manos, damos un paso hacia adelante, extendemos la columna. Exhalamos, nos relajamos. Inhalamos, subimos a Urdhva Hastasana, manos sobre la cabeza. Exhalamos, manos al pecho. Good. And release. So, a quick question for you all. How many of you were able to follow some different parts of the body in that little sequence?
I got a little bit lost on the last one.
Yeah.
For the most part, it was more the direction, not so much the body parts for me. It was more the directions that I got a little bit lost.
Of course, and that's natural at this stage, that you're going to be like, oh, I don't know any of these words. So be patient, because on Tuesday we'll be doing verbs, on Wednesday we'll be doing directions. And so that's going to really help you find kind of your direction in the practice a little bit more. Yeah. Any parts of the body that people were not certain of during that flow?
The side of the body.
Yeah, side body. I wanted to ask that earlier. Can you?
Oh, yeah. So
tell us how to write that?
Side body is el costado. Costado. El costado. Or los costados. Good. Any other questions? Notice that I also will use the word el torso and el tronco there as well.
I was actually surprised. Well, when you did the Spanglish class, you said in the very beginning in that kind of blog post that you wrote, how simple to keep it, and just doing review in our groups and in the diagram that we used with the body. When we got to it, I was like, oh heck, we're about to go into a flow. I was feeling a way about it, but then actually just doing the review with you, doing slow, keeping it very simple, because we all know a basic salutation. That way I was like, oh, actually this isn't as difficult as I thought it would be, actually doing the practice after we did the vocabulary. So I think that reminded me to just like chill out, that it's not really that stressful.
And I always like to share a story of one of the interns who came to join us in Flying Tree. And she found herself, she'd made some Spanish friends. And I think on her second day, I think it was, in the country, she decided to teach a Spanish class knowing nothing more than some basic body parts. And it was literally like, mano, suelo, mano, aire, and it's enough if you're demonstrating people. And if you're doing it with a good humor as well, people really, really respond to the energy that you put into it. I mean, I've seen people whose level of Spanish is really quite low, but who go into it with such confidence and such a smile on their face that people have a really good experience in their classes. I've had other people who are almost flawless Spanish speakers, but they're radiating such kind of stress and tension. They don't want to make a single mistake, that their students feed off that, and their students end up just not really enjoying the class very much. And I think that at the end of the day, if you're really trying to communicate with somebody in their language, people are going to give you a break. I mean, especially when you come to Colombia, people are so kind of happy that there's a foreigner trying to make the effort to speak in Spanish for a change, as opposed to trying to impose English on them all of the time. That they really give people a lot of leeway with the language. It's not like these horror stories of people going to Paris and trying to speak French and just having English spoken back at them. It's nothing like that. People are very patient here.
Agreed. I'm definitely experiencing that. with my two neighbors who have been really kind enough to be patient with my Spanglish, and they understand nothing of English, but they, you know, have smiling and really enjoying the class, and saying that they understood what I meant, even though I didn't have the right words. And if they're not sure, then they can always peek up and see what I'm doing as well.
Exactly.
So I agree with that, yeah.
And that there's no better way to learn language than to find yourself in a place where people simply don't speak English, and it's not even an option, you know, because that just kind of forces you to get out of your comfort zone. And yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
So what would I like you to do for tomorrow? There's a couple of things. The first thing is homework. I would like you to pick 13 new words that you've never seen before today for parts of the body. So in your handout, they might be words on the main diagram of the human body. They might be words for parts of the hand, face, and feet, which you'll see on the page after that. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at your handouts yet, but you'll see that there are 2 pages dedicated to vocabulary for body parts. So learn 13 brand new words for tomorrow, and we're going to share what we've learned at that point. 13 just seems to be a good number. It's neither too many nor too few.
Just body parts.
Just body parts. Yeah, that's right. Good. And if you already know absolutely every body part there, then be curious. Go online, start to get technical. Find names for muscles. Can anybody name what this muscle is in English? Or in Spanish, esternocleidomastoides. You know, so there's plenty of like super technical muscles out there that you can get into if you really want to. Yeah. The second thing is tomorrow we're going to be talking about reflexive verbs. Now, if you're a beginner Spanish speaker, reflexive verbs they're a little bit of work to deal with, right? So if you could have a little bit of a read up in our handout, and maybe on other parts of the internet as well, like what are reflexive verbs? How do they work? Because in English, we don't have them. We do things differently in the English language. So those are the 2 parts of the homework. Can people remind me what they are?
13 new words for body parts and reflexive verbs.
Good.
Yeah. And just as a sort of an interesting side note, English is actually in the minority with the reflexive verbs. If you speak other languages, that's how French goes, that's how German goes. It's English is the one that's the outlier for reflexive verbs, which is interesting.
And it's the same with things like subjunctives as well. You know, a lot of other languages have, you know, subjunctives and optatives and whatnot. In English, we have these things called modal verbs, so would, should, could, may, might, and they cause all kinds of headaches for foreign learners when they've got to learn them. Great. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a couple of favors that I would like to ask. If in the group chat right now, you could just add your name and your WhatsApp number. I would love to make a WhatsApp group just to share things like assignments, to share links, to share useful information. I'm just having a look at messages. So, antebrazos or antes brazos. It's all one word and it's antebrazos without the S. Good, awesome.
So is our WhatsApp number our phone number?
Yeah, have you got WhatsApp?
I believe so, yes.
All right, it will be that. I'm going to make up a group this afternoon so that we can message one another there. The other thing is there's a couple of you who've yet to pass me your passport numbers for our accounts here. So if you would do that at your earliest convenience, it would be awesome. And there's just one document I'm going to send along, which is basically a letter saying that you don't reside in Colombia full time, so I don't have to charge you sales tax, which makes the course $40 cheaper. So yeah, just to fill in your details in that letter. I'll send that along by email later today.
And that's for everyone?
That's for everyone, yeah. It just means that we can make the course a little bit cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Brenda, I think you need to unmute. Hang on.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I didn't realize we were meeting tomorrow and these other days. I was thinking it was Monday and Thursdays.
So it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at this time. There will be a recording that I'm going to place online in the off chance that you find it impossible at some point to attend. But obviously, the more that you can attend in person, the better, because I'm sure you'll have questions, you'll have things that you'll want to ask me in person.
So it'll be a video recording.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. It's sometimes this is the only time I can go shopping because of the because we're on lockdown.
Sure. Yeah. Does anybody have any other questions?
It's going to be from 11 to 1 all 4 days, right?
That's correct. And then the same next week.
Cool.
Yeah. The other thing that we were thinking of doing is after the course is finished, we'll find some time just to do some group meetups when we can practice teaching our language as well. So just like continue with the rhythm that we've built up after the course is done. All right.
Great.
Good.
Andrew, I had one thing.
Yeah, tell me.
If possible, next time, might we be able to do maybe like a 3-minute bathroom break? I mean, just for me, so early in the morning, I've been holding my bowels, and I don't want to miss anything. So
you're welcome to go to the bathroom whenever you like. Don't feel that I'm there, kind of, you know. But yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay,
all right.
I just don't want to miss it.
So super, thanks so much everybody. Remember that you've got the Spanish language videos on our Facebook page that you should be practicing along with. There's lots of different levels there. There's beginners, there's power yoga, there's vinyasa flow, there's relaxing yoga sometimes as well. So yeah, just practice away.
Are there any all of those classes are by natives, right? Are there any, I've taken 2 so far just because I was curious. But I was like if you're in a class, I feel like it's easier because you can see what everyone else is doing, but like I was constantly like looking up and I was getting really frustrated. So I was like, I don't know what's happening.
That's just the nature of online teaching now.
Okay.
All right. Have a lovely afternoon, everybody, and I will see you all tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
See ya.
My pleasure. Ciao.